I called you. All right. Can we talk on Riverboat Jack? No, just call me. You're in my DMs. Just call me. Hello. How's it going?
Hang on, just wait a second. So what's your stance on BLM?
It's pretty good. Largest sustained protest movement in American history.
I really think that it is toxic. I really do.
Why?
I'm not saying all, but I think some of them are using this as a excuse to riot and loot.
Who's some of them?
I think there's a lot of uneducated people in that group,
Mm-hmm. Who?
and they just join the bandwagon. I'm in Australia, so I don't know.
Oh, then why do you have a strong opinion about BLM?
Because America is our closest ally. So let's be honest, Australia's boring as hell.
I'll take your word for it. I've never been.
So I look at America's stuff. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think BLM has good intentions, but it's been executed the wrong way.
I mean, what if I told you that about 97.7% of the BLM protests were peaceful, and it's a historic protest event with tens of millions of people participating in it? So why do you want to write off 97.7%
So why are they
of people
protesting? Are they protesting for one person, George Floyd?
Well, they're protesting the systemic discrimination. George Floyd is just emblematic of that discrimination.
So what about Rayshard Brooks and Jacob Blake?
I mean, I'm not familiar with every single case of a black person being killed by police.
You've heard of the argument, I think it's 1350. You've heard of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it has some merit.
Why is that?
13% of black people, 50% of all murders or crime. I think is it murders or crime?
I believe it's violent crime.
Violent crime, yeah. 74% of black people grow up without a father.
Okay.
74. So that's three out of four people that are black grow up without a father.
Okay, but so are you attributing this because when people 1350, you can really only attribute it to one of two things. Either it's the culture, like the nebulous black culture, or it's some sort of genetic trait. Like a lot of people will point to, oh, there's the warrior gene, which again is basically like saying in like the 1800s, their skull shape is just a little different. So which camp do you fall into?
I definitely don't think it's genetic. I just think it's just part of culture. Black people have been what's the word? Shamed and racism towards them, I guess.
They've been shamed and racism towards them. So like
I don't know what's the word.
well, here, I can kind of explain it for you if that would help. Basically, in the United States, we owned black people as property for about 400 years. And when you own people as property, you deny them the ability to accumulate wealth, right? So for 400 years, black people were unable to acquire wealth in this nation. And then we freed them. And during the time that they were freed, they were disenfranchised further by Jim Crow laws, by rampant lynching and hate mobs, by the practice of redlining, which put them into segregated neighborhoods.
Sorry, oppressed. Oppressed was the word I was looking for.
Oh yeah,
That's the word. Sorry.
definitely. So there.
I only got into politics last year, and I'm just interested in the American culture.
Okay. Well, so basically, we've had these systemic issues that over time have accumulated and made the black the wealth gap between black and white people in the United States incredibly large. So if we look at Chicago, which I know a lot of conservative people are fond of pointing at Chicago, they'll say that, oh, the gun crime is rampant in Chicago, blah, 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 blah. But they never address the economic situation in Chicago. And the reality is that the economic situation in Chicago is one in which redlining has made it so that about, on average, the average black family in Chicago has 1/40th the amount of wealth of the average white family. So the reason black people commit crimes disproportionately is largely a result of their economic situation in the United States. This is why, by the way, like, crime tends to happen in poor areas, and it's not in any way related to race, but because of the history of how we have distributed goods and services based on race in the United States, that legacy continues to this day. And so black people tend to disproportionately commit crimes, not because of any inherent racial trait or any inherent part of their culture, but largely because of the way that they have been treated on a systemic level. And this is something that has largely gone on to create a lot of harmful stereotypes that affect things like policing, for example. So, for example, policing in America, did you know that black people, when the sun goes down, they are significantly less likely to be pulled over by a police officer? Significantly. Like, because police officers can't see their race when they're driving. And this is just officers have a different idea of how to interact with a black person rather than a white person. So these are the things that people are.
Hopefully that culture changes.
What?
Hopefully that culture changes. I think with people, it's just a natural reaction to see a black person and think. It's just a natural reaction. I don't know why, it just is.
I mean, I don't think it's a natural reaction to be distrustful of black people. I think that's a learned behavior that we have, and it's largely because of their economic condition.
Whether you like, it's an inconvenient truth. It's something no one talks about, but it's true. If you put a white and black person together, you're going to be more scared of the black person, especially here in Australia.
Wait, can you describe the situation in which you're putting these two people together? Like, are you saying you like have a white person in a room, you send a black person in, and the white person just like gasps and hides in the corner?
If it was a white person committing a crime, you're not as scared. But if it's a black person, I don't know. It's just your natural reaction.
Oh yeah, but that's largely because, again, of the economic conditions, right? Like, black people have been painted in our culture as largely more violent because they are perceived as being more likely to commit crimes, right? And so, and because of that perception, there is the likelihood of a cop shooting them goes exponentially higher. This is the reason black men are at much higher risk of getting shot.
The thing that annoys me, though, is when people, as soon as this George Floyd incident happened, what happened to George Floyd was wrong. There's no contending that. But as soon as that happened, every single black person that was shot, whether they lunged at a police officer with a knife, whether they shot at a police officer, there were riots for it, whether the black person was in the wrong. That's what I don't agree with.
Well, I think part of it is because a lot of white people can get away with lunging at a police officer without getting shot. No, it's true. There are literally videos online of like white people taking swings at cops.
I've watched a video where a white guy went to pull up his pants and he got shot in the head. Honestly.
Oh yeah, that case was fucked up too.
Yeah, and you're picking stuff out. You're picking
No,
it. You're picking stuff out.
I'm not picking stuff out. I fully acknowledge it because I know which case you're talking about. That case was particularly fucked. But I think that is a way that our police are, while black people are disproportionately affected by the way our police officers act, white people are
I
also
just think
affected by that.
police brutality is a thing, and I think we need
Yeah.
to talk about it as police brutality as a whole. You need to have people
Yeah.
that can deal with people with mental health issues better.
Oh, absolutely. The issue is that you're 100% right, but because cops tend to disproportionately interact with black people,
So black people are more likely to die. That's just how it is.
well, yeah,
They interact with black people more. They
yeah,
have an interaction
but
with them more.
that's why the black community is taking the point on Black Lives Matter protests. Does that not clear it up for you?
I just
Like if
it
like
doesn't
obviously
clear
if
it up.
black people are interacting with the police more and experiencing more police brutality, they would be the ones to start protesting about it, right?
I don't think they're over policed. I think the police just needs reforming. The people in your comments are saying that over policed.
Well, that's because they are disproportionately policed compared to other groups of people.
But what's defunding the police going to do? I think
Do you know what defunding the police means when people usually say that?
taking money out, which means people lose jobs.
Well, do you know what they do with the money after they take it out?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, the proposals of defunding the police are so that you have money to put into social programs for like social workers and mental health care workers who can go and help these
It doesn't
people.
work though. It
No,
doesn't
it
work.
actually does. All of the data we have shows that social workers prevent more crimes. Do you think police prevent crimes? Because usually they arrive after crimes have been committed.
We need a middleman. We need
Police
a middleman.
police are a reactionary force. So like when people are saying defund the police, it's so that we can fund other systems that de-escalate, whether it's a social worker who's dispatched to deal with a homeless person and help them get the appropriate services that they need, or whether it is dealing with these problems in other ways before it gets to the point where a guy with a gun shows up and, who knows what happens then.
I just think we should have police officers that are trained in mental health.
Well, so
because
your message
you're talking
is
about
actually...
social workers in the community. You're talking about social workers in the community. If somebody's having a fit, whether it be a drug raid, rage or whatever, you need somebody there at the time to de-escalate the situation.
Absolutely. That's my point.
Having a social worker in the community, as I think you intended to say, is not...
Do you know that? Do you know that social workers are dispatched like physically into the community? They don't just sit behind a desk. Like
I know that.
Yeah, social workers can physically de-escalate situations if they need to. They're trained to do that.
But I mean, being part of the police force would help to go along with police officers.
I mean, maybe there would certainly be some sort of cooperation going on there, but like this, you could just dispatch a social worker there. Part of the reason a lot of people react violently towards police officers in the first place is because they know that they're armed and can kill them. So, like, it actually helps to have someone who is unarmed dispatched first. Like, we're actually kind of on the same page here.
They're going to get shot. The people think they're going to get shot. George Floyd, when he said, if you've watched the whole video, he said, "They're going to kill me, man. They're going to kill me."
Yeah. So wouldn't it be better to
he said that referring to going back to prison.
But wouldn't it be better to put someone else out there who's not going to arrest them and instead put them in touch with the appropriate services they need?
If the police officer didn't put his knee on George Floyd, do you think he would have still died?
Probably not.
I believe he would have.
Why?
Well, it seemed like he was having a fit, like an anxiety attack or something.
Anxiety attacks don't usually kill people.
With fentanyl in the system?
Yeah, they usually don't.
Okay, well,
That's why the coroner ruled it as not like he
there was
didn't die
two
as natural
coroners. There was two.
causes.
There was two actually. There
Yeah,
was one
there were two.
paid for by the family, and there was another one
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yeah, but like that's the point, right? Like again, we could speculate on what would have happened, but the reality is he was choked to death.
And also, I'm just talking to one of the comments. American police officers do have domestic abuse rates because of PTSD and what they say. I'm not excusing it, but
Yeah.
it's the same here in Australia with firefighters. Because we've had a lot of fires in Australia, after they do attend to the fires,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of them do have that. It's part of the PTSD.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if we decommodified mental health care so that they could just go get the help they need?
Had he not been choked, he probably wouldn't have choked.
Oh,
No, that's a
you
little bit
probably
far.
shouldn't read the comments.
He
I
would have.
recommend against it.
Oh, well.
But I think we largely agree. Your position just seems to be like, for whatever reason, it's absolutely necessary that these social workers are in the police department, and I don't necessarily think that that's the case. You can have two separate departments that communicate with each other. We have those within police departments right now.
I just think nobody's putting themselves in the shoes of the police officer that has to go to multiple instances a day where someone could have a gun and could shoot at them.
Well, okay. Well, then how about this? Wouldn't it be
the
great?
Sort of work they do. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if instead of police officers being dispatched, we sent social workers instead? Because those social workers are trained to deal with these situations, and this way it frees up the police to respond to actual violent situations. So they don't have to go in the future worried about whether it's going to be a peaceful situation or not. They know that when they're deployed, that it's going to be a hostile situation. So they know what they're going into when they go out there. Social workers are trained to deal with all kinds of wild situations, and they're not equipped to kill people. So I think that this would be a win-win. You take a lot of the stress off of police officers, and you have a better, more adaptable force of social workers to de-escalate situations, and that people know when they show up are there to help them.
I'm sorry, your comments are just baffling me.
Well, yeah, that's why I say you probably shouldn't read them.
Oi, Riot Girl, do you want to show me an article that backs that up, please?
But do you have anything you want to say to me? Are we good? Do you have more contentions?
Not really.
Okay.
Just wanted to discuss that.
Well, it was nice talking with you. Feel free to come back anytime, okay? I love you. All right.